So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jim Parker. I'm the owner of iDRY, and I'm here in Barrie at our factory. So we build all of our machines here, all of our kilns, and our latest and greatest is the iDRY AIRmini. I really appreciate everybody following along with us. It's been about a year from when Brian and I were sitting at a bar and conceived of this thing at the Atlanta trade show. Um, we, as you probably know, have a whole line of kilns. We specialize in vacuum kilns. We've been building vacuum kilns for many, many years. And then a few years ago, added the iDRY Air as our first conventional style kiln. And that's really done great for commercial businesses and people trying to drive fairly high volumes of hardwoods and softwoods. But we decided we really need something a little bit smaller, something that is a bit more than a hobby kiln, something for somebody with a wood miser or Norwood portable mill who wants to do dimensional lumber, maybe dry as a service, dry their own products for their own furniture, cabinets, or flooring, or whatever your wood product is. Um, but I just wanted to start off today by reminding us all why we dry wood. So we cut this tree down, we lug it over to the sawmill, we wrestle this sucker onto the mill, and we mill it up, and that's really fun, and we enjoy that. We stack it off the mill, stickered, so we get some airflow, and the drying process begins, right? But why? Why do we dry wood? Wood is practically useless until it's dried. You can't even burn it unless it's dried. It's not stable and it hasn't been disinfected. So when trees are growing in the forest, insects infiltrate the tree. It's just part of Mother Nature. They live in there, and then after the tree is dead, they crawl out. So we want to kill those in the drying process, which means getting the kiln hot enough and the lumber hot enough. But we're also trying to make the wood stable. So wood shrinks a lot in the drying process, and we want that shrinkage to happen now and not after you've made some furniture or installed something in your home. And we really need to get wood that's used inside your home down around 6 to 8% moisture content. At that level, that's the acceptable level for having stable wood that is not going to move after it's installed. The only way we really get to that moisture content effectively is with a kiln. You can't air dry to that level. You could leave it outside for a million years. It will never be dry to 6 to 8% moisture content. You need to raise the temperature of the wood to get the moisture to that level, get the free water and the bound water out so it won't move anymore, and it's heat treated to the core so bugs are dead. And once we've done this, now our wood for the first time really is valuable. We had a lot of fun dragging this log onto the mill and milling and making a pile of lumber, and we're really proud of that. But that wood is useless until it's dried and really kiln dried. So this is our smallest tool for that job, and it is a really high quality tool. We spared no expense in the design of this machine, and we tried to make it something that is incredibly simple to install, incredibly simple to operate, but built out of hardware that is really designed to achieve what I just talked about, reaching the temperatures for getting wood dry enough and heat treated. So this is the iDRY AIRmini. It is a conventional kiln. It is inserted into your chamber. So we built our own chamber. This is not included in what we're selling. This is something that our guys built. It's a stick built 2x4, 2x6 frame insulated box. We covered it in our nice black sheet metal that we use for all of our other kilns because we had that handy, but you can do whatever you want. We have plans on the website for building this. But the important part of a kiln is the part that controls airflow, heating, and venting. How do we dehumidify this box? How do we heat up the wood, move air around the lumber, pick up moisture, and then get the moisture out? And that sounds pretty basic, but it's really hard to do it well, and also really hard to control that process well. So we have the guts of the kiln. This inserts into the side of this chamber, and it has everything you need to dry wood. This is one single component. There's not a fan deck, there's not a pile of boxes of parts, there's no other components. When you buy the iDRY AIRmini, you get this box. We'll see half of it outside the kiln, and then we'll open the doors of the kiln in a minute and show you the inside of the kiln. But this is a complete ready to go unit. It'll show up on a pallet. It weighs about 200 pounds. You hopefully will have already built your chamber, which will have framed out to our spec the square hole. And you and another buddy are going to slide this in and fasten it with these provided screws into the box. Super simple. Once that's installed, you literally are plugging it in. So this is a 208 to 240 volt single phase 30 amp system. So that means you need 208 volt and about 30 amps of it from your service. And there's only one power connection. So you'll bring power from your panel outside or wherever you're going to put this and up into our panel and just make one single electrical connection that's super simple. There is also a internet connection underneath here if you want to remotely connect to this from your phone. Um, but it's a very, very simple unit to install. It's meant to go outside in the elements. We have it here in our shop because it's convenient, but we designed this to go outside, rain, snow, sleet, everything. We built it here in Vermont for our conditions. Um, you have your vents. So we have vents here and here. The vents will show you a little bit more about inside, but that is taking some of the air from the process and the moisture from the wood and venting it out. It's really that simple. Um, One will always act as an intake, and one will always be an exhaust. And then the fan will reverse every hour or so and blow the other way, and then those vents switch. This is all completely automated. There's nothing for you to do. Uh, let's take a little let's take a peek at the touchscreen. Brian, who's holding the camera right now, designed all of our software in house. He's our electrical engineer, and he programmed this. He did a like all of our kilns. He did such a great job. Every single iDry has a very similar program. Um, Again, this is meant to be a little bit more than a hobbyist kiln, but yet we have a full PLC driven industrial control system touchscreen. This is not hobby hardware. This is very industrial hardware. It's a color touchscreen. There's not much for you to do, frankly. You have temperature and humidity. Those are set in the background. I'll show you where. Otherwise, drying wood with this kiln, like all iDRYs, is start and stop. So you'll literally sticker your lumber, put it in the kiln, close the doors, press start, walk away. Always you're able to come and monitor this. You can remotely monitor if you care to. Can you see that okay, Brian? We'll show you on the status screen. This is kind of the setup of the kiln. You can set your max temperature. You can set your humidity set point. You can even set your fan speed. This is the only small kiln on the market where you have the ability to change your fan speed, which is really useful for more sensitive to dry woods like oak, where we don't want quite as much airflow, whereas pine, we want a lot of airflow, a lot of heat. So not only can we set the fan speed here, but the fans, like I said, automatically reverse, providing airflow more evenly around the pack in both directions. This is also the only kiln on the market that can do that, at least for a small kiln. We can look at our process graph here. You can see how it's been heated up. Uh, this is so important. This kiln raised its temperature up with a pile of pine in there. We are just cranking on this pine just to be able to show you. But we're up right now at 160 degrees, we can go right up to 170 degrees. And this, if your air temperature in your kiln isn't easily getting to this temperature, you are not drying wood properly. Unless your air temperature is at least 160, the inside of the wood, the core temperature of the wood is never going to reach 140 Fahrenheit, which is the requirement for disinfecting your wood. That's the USDA heat treat standard. So if you're shipping wood across state lines, if you're putting it in somebody's home, in your home, you need to get your wood this hot. But it's really simple. We have alarms. So if anything happens with the hardware, you'll know about it, power outages, and so on. You have some nice tools here. You can certainly use your own handheld moisture meter, but to properly check moisture content, you typically do an oven weight dry test where you weigh a sample of wood. You can enter those weights here, and it'll give you the moisture content. So really nice, but very simple tools. Um, Otherwise, you're just going to be here at that screen. Start, stop. Right now, it is just started to vent. So we have our humidity set very low. Like I said, this is pine, and we're just trying to dry the heck out of it. So we've set our humidity level very low, our temperature very high, and as a result, the humidity just automatically opened the vents. So now I can feel here air, really warm air coming out and warm, humid air. Probably fog up the camera. On this side, I feel just slightly some air going in. So this is currently the intake. And like I said, this will automatically reverse about every hour, but you can change that. So super, super simple. Install it in your box, screw it in, plug it in, power it up, load your wood, press start. It's a really, really, really simple process. And I know I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. Feel free to leave them in the comments, but we're going to try to address them here in a little bit, as many as we can. We'll run out of time for sure. This will all be recorded, and then we'll circle back with everybody as best we can. So again, we built an example of a box. The approximate drawings for this are on our website. We are trying to keep it nice because we like to make nice equipment here. But we are not providing this box. We're not in the business of building this particular kind of chamber. It's meant to be a DIY box. Up to you what it looks like in the end. We made this stick built 2x4s. Um, we'll open it up and take a look at the pine, which is basically dry. It's going to be warm and humid in here. So we've just insulated it with a closed cell foam. This is 4-quarter Etherite pine that we've really just had around the shop for a while for testing. You can see the fan, the hot section of the kiln is what we call it, which is the fan, the heater, the relative humidity probe, and the dry bulb or temperature probe. All the business end of the kiln is inserted into our box, providing airflow around our pile of wood, picking up moisture, moving it to the vent and out. Super simple. Sure. So the question was how much wood this is. This is about 1,000 board feet. So 8-foot pack of lumber, 4 feet wide, roughly 4 feet tall, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, very good. Yeah, very, very simple. This is, Brian, this is a 3 kilowatt system, right? So the max demand of this hardware is 3 kilowatts per hour. It's not necessarily going to consume that all the time. It will depend on what you're drying and the stage of the process, but that's the max demand from this system. Again, 208 volt to 240 volt single phase, 30 amp circuit breaker. You can see we try to do a good job of baffling. So above and below, I don't know if you can see that, but above and below the hot section of the kiln, we've blocked the airflow so the air can only go through the kiln unit. We've blocked the end of the pile, the top of the pile. Not so important to block the exact bottom of this pile. We get that question sometimes. We have bolsters there, 3x3, so we can get our forks from our forklift in. But the most important thing about drying wood with airflow is to direct that airflow through the pack of wood and not over it or around the end or somewhere else. Airflow is really, really important for drying lumber. Any other questions that you see there? Sure. Yes. Yeah. So the question was about the chamber build. We do have plans on the website, iDRYwood.com. Go to the AIRmini and scroll down a little bit. You'll see all the user manual, installation instructions, and some architectural drawings for building something like this yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Hopefully everybody can still hear us okay. I'll show you, but it's very simple. So the touchscreen goes black as a screensaver. We just tap it, turn it on, press stop. You can see we had the doors open, so we lost quite a bit of temperature earlier when we stepped up here. It was 165 degrees in there, but now you can hear it's much quieter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get to all your questions later, but there's a few we can address now. Yeah, we're not sell. iDry is not selling the chamber for this kiln. All of our other kilns we do. For this, it's a DIY chamber. Yeah. So this all kilns dehumidify. If they didn't, it wouldn't be a very good kiln. So we are de yeah, sorry. The question was, does this kiln dehumidify? Um, yes, absolutely. All kilns dehumidify or they're not very good at drying. Um, the way that our kiln dehumidifies is by venting, like any kind of a conventional style kiln. So we're scooping a little of that moisture out of the air and getting it outside. Um, we we definitely considered using a dehumidifier, which would be a heat pump driven cold coil for condensing the water out of the air, something like you'd put in your basement to dehumidify your basement. The problem with that as hardware for a kiln drying process is none of the scroll pumps or the motors and bits and pieces and hardware in that machine is really rated for drying lumber properly. So we need, like I've said, we need to get wood to about 160 degrees, or at least the to 160 degrees to make sure that we get the wood to 140 degrees so that it's dried properly, it's dried to the right moisture content, and it's disinfected and heat treated by USDA standards. You can't get there in temperature with a dehumidifier. So you could certainly use a dehumidifier and either then remove it, get that hardware that's rated to only 120 degrees out of the process or shut it down. But we really wanted to build a piece of hardware that is strictly designed for kiln duty for the temperatures and humidities that we deal with. Yeah. Oh yeah, every single fan motor we have on our kilns, including the fan motor on this little kiln, are kiln duty rated, which means they are rated well over the temperature that we need inside this process to properly dry. In fact, most of them are rated over 200 degrees. This kiln only really needs to go to 160, 170 to dry wood properly, and disinfect it. But that fan motor that we use is built for kilns. It's not a, some other or motor manufacturer that's off the shelf for who knows what other application. This is meant for this environment, for this moisture content, and especially for this temperature. Most motors, electric motors, are not designed for that. The motor windings and insulation are not designed for these temperatures. So, absolutely. Sure. Okay. Yep. Few more. Okay, the length and width, and so there's some questions about the lumber pack. So, this is designed for an 8-foot lumber pack, so 8 foot plus some over trim. So you want to make sure that whatever box you use for this, it should at least fit that length. You can tell probably that we've made this our box a little bit longer because if we're going to load it with a forklift, you want to have some wiggle room, of course. But the kiln is designed to dry 8 feet of lumber long for that's the optimum length. If you go longer in your lumber length, 10 feet, 12 feet, or so on, um, you really need to start looking at the iDRY Air, the next size up. That would give you the optimal airflow. Um, and this is about 1,000 board feet. Exactly. So the hardware we built for this is designed to heat up, provide airflow for and dehumidify 1,000 board feet. But what's also pretty unique about our small kiln versus other small kilns is it is designed to dry 1,000 board feet of whatever you put in here. For instance, if you want to load it with sopping like this used to be, sopping wet pine, which or hemlock or something that is, believe it or not, actually over 100% moisture content by weight, literally dripping wet. Our system can handle that, no problem. It's not overwhelmed by that, causing you to have to load it maybe partially with less wood. Um, so softwoods, hardwoods. I will say that we are still a vacuum kiln manufacturer as well, and we still are believers that for wood that is 2 inches and thicker, the vacuum kiln really does that is really optimal machine for that job. That's the correct tool to dry efficiently and quickly. Um, that's not to say that this couldn't do it, and maybe this is what's in your budget, this is in your price range, and so fine. But this is really designed, all conventional kilns are really designed well for drying dimensional lumber, 4/4, 5/4, up to 8/4. Um, Beyond that, they really slow down. And that's when you should be considering a vacuum kiln. If you can't afford a vacuum kiln, and you're doing slabs, go find one of our vacuum kiln customers out there. There's hundreds of them, and they have kilns available. You can go to our website, idrynearme.com, off the idrywood.com website, and find a kiln near you. But if you're drying your own lumber, this is perfect. Two more questions. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's good question. I'm always screaming at guys to sticker properly. Okay, yeah. So somebody asked, they noticed that we don't have very many stickers in our pile, and that's how it was shipped to us. There's a local softwood mill down the road, and we're too lazy to sticker it ourselves. Um, we're in the business of building kilns, I guess, not handling lumber like you guys, just for testing purposes. But actually, you could say as much as I preach to guys over the phone, you should sticker frequently for flatter lumber. I gotta say, this pine is pretty darn flat. But if I had to criticize us a little bit, we could see that we put a bolster under these stickers, and that's good. But if you want to look closely, these stickers are way too well. They're far to that side, and they're not centered over this bolster, and you can see how we're warping that board down there. Yeah. So more stickers, more stickers equals flatter lumber. It's a good point. But this is really flat. Even the top layer is really flat. And we did we didn't weren't trying to do anything special with this pile of wood. We just threw it in there to test the machine. And here we go. Yeah. So we have a whole bunch of pre-orders. The kilns are in production right now. Shipping, next week and every week after. We're pumping them out as fast as we possibly can. We have a production schedule. So if you've already put your pre-order in, you're in that line. And if you're curious about, when yours might ship, just get in touch with us and we can tell you approximately when. But we're doing our best to get them out as quickly as we can. I think if you were to order one today, you're likely looking at December for delivery at this point, just being that we're so backed up. Yeah. But thanks everybody for taking time. I hope you got to eat your lunch while you watch this dry wood. And we really appreciate all of your support and your patience while we try to build the best darn little kiln that's ever been built. Um, yeah, we're really looking forward to helping everybody start to add value to their wood and be able to use it in their home or sell it. Way to go, guys. Keep going. Keep sawing wood. Turn this thing back on. Keep trying. Boom. Thank you.